Hey Snowboard Addiction, Taevis here. And in this video, we're going to go and demystify 50/50s a little bit. Talking about some techniques that make this trick way more approachable and way easier to control and just have fun with. Because I see a lot of people biffing really hard on this trick, making it a lot more complicated than it needs to be. 50/50s doesn't need to be some big trick. Instead, you can go and rely on doing it in a safe, consistent way that makes it so much more fun and relaxing. There's a few main principles of this. First of all, speed is your friend. If you go super slow into a rail, it's going to make it so you need to balance way longer. And also, it makes it so the rails jump on is way harsher. So if I'm going really slow, I need to do a full ollie in order to get on the rail. Or if I'm going fast, I can just keep my board strong and it automatically sets me onto the feature. So we're trying to do two things. Get onto the rail as smoothly as possible and land in as stacked of a position as possible. So we're going to go and use this video to teach you how to do that consistently and safely. First, what you should never do is fully pop and extend onto a rail. If you go and try to full ollie, it's going to disconnect your upper and lower body, or that's going to make the impact really harsh and just make the trick way more deadly. It also makes it so your legs are straight. If your legs are straight when on the rail, you have no ability to rebalance, and that's going to make it way more likely that your feet will slip out from you. So you want to go and make sure you're holding your stacked position with bending your legs. This stacked position is super powerful because it lets you go and pop up. And as you're popping up, you want to keep that little bit of bend in your legs. So stack over the toes, pop up, not fully extending your leg, and landing with that bend in the legs again. And that's going to be the stacked position you need. Because as soon as you go and try to, you're going to be overextended, and it's just going to make it so the trick's way harder. Straight and stacked is actually a flexible range of motion. You can go and do it with your legs pretty straight or super spotted down. As long as you keep your leg stacked over the center of the balls of your feet, it's counts as a stacked position. What you just don't want to be fully extending your legs. So you might be asking yourself, if you can't fully extend your legs, how are you going to get on the rail without doing your full ollie and up? This is where something called keeping your tail pressure and contact with the snow comes in. If you go and try to ollie, that's actually going to set you up way over the rail. If you just go and keep your board in contact with the snow until your tail rides off the end, it naturally puts your snowboard over top of a rail, letting you go get onto it without going and doing this big pop. So a really important thing to keep in mind when hitting rails is you're not trying to go and ollie up and over, because that's going to put you too high, give you more impact while extending your legs. Instead, you're going to try to do a very small pop while maintaining contact with the snow until your tail rides off the end, and that's going to naturally put your board over the rail. And then the faster you go, the less you need to pop, because when you go faster, you're gapping over more of a rail, making it so you have less rail you need to jump up and over. So this is the main principle of how we're going to go and get onto the rail without breaking the stacked position. Let's just clean up the slip real quick. There we go. All right. So this rail is really steep and doesn't have much of a jump on, so you can hit it pretty slow and with very minimal ollie. That was a little too slow, came off. So with this one, just riding up that tail, and I don't even need to go and pop. Just by maintaining contact with the snow gives me all the airtime I need to get onto a feature. Little flat rails like this actually require more pop because there's no angle on it. So what you want to do for that is just start with a little bit more bend in your legs. If you start with a bit more bend in your legs, that means you can pop up higher while maintaining a bend in your legs the whole duration. Also, having this bend in your legs when on the rail makes it way easier to pop out. Besides that, what you want to make sure you're doing is keeping your body completely stacked and aligned with your snowboard. It also helps to keep your arms away from the body. If you have your arms come in, it's going to go and make it so your shoulders sort of close off. It's not too good. You also want to always make sure you're looking towards the end of a rail. That's going to just make it so you're staying stacked, aligned with your board. Don't start looking down at your feet. Don't start looking far past. Just keep your vision down toward the end of a rail. Like here, I can see the end of a rail, seeing it the whole way. I came off early, but that stack position where you're keeping back, bending your legs, going off the lip, doing the small ollie, maintaining bend, you do all that and it makes rails super safe and really consistent. Every single time you hit a rail from the side, it's going to give you something called sideways momentum. If you come in with a lot of sideways angle, that momentum is going to carry you up and over the rail, and that's where you see people go and fall off the rail early. Or if you don't have enough sideways momentum, you won't get onto a rail, and that's going to make you come up the close side. So every time you hit a rail from your side, you're going to have a little bit of sideways momentum. You can minimize this by a very small angled approach, or on something like a tube here, you can actually hit the rail slightly on the side and then rock over to flat. That one I did a little bit too much of a side without enough angle, so I came off early. But the idea of that is you hit the side of a rail and use your momentum to rock you over to the flat, and that's going to go and destroy your sideways momentum, make it easier to lock in. Since this rail is steep and very low jump on, I'm going to have a very minimal approach angle, just setting my upper body over the rail. Woo. Same with this one, just having my upper body over the rail, and that's going to make it so I naturally get on. What's the last little thing you can do to help you get onto the rail with less sideways momentum? And that is preemptively having your upper body set into your rail position. So when I'm hitting a rail, I'm not completely straight over my board because that's going to make it so I'm super tall and I need to jump across onto the feature. Instead, I'm putting my upper body a little bit over the rail, so when I pop up, I'm already there for the rail. Here, catching the side, popped up. So having your upper body preemptively set over the rail makes it so your legs come and catch up, allowing you to get on the rail with a lot less sideways momentum because only your legs are traversing the distance. This brings us into the last thing you want to do to avoid crashing on rails, and that is no readjustments. If you go too much sideways momentum and come off the rail early, go with it. If you get on with not enough sideways momentum and come off early, let yourself slide off, because as long as you stay completely stacked over your board, you're safe. The key to staying safe on rails is treating your snowboard like a shield and staying stacked over it. So you're stacked over your board, wherever your board goes, you go. So if my board's going off a rail to the left, I go with it. Off to the right, I go with it. And if my board's going all the way to the end of a rail, I'm up with it. By doing this, we can really ensure that your rail riding is just so much more safe. So try out these tips, and hopefully it simplifies, demystifies the 50-50, and helps you go and lock it in consistently on every feature in the park this season. I'm Taevis from Snowboard Addiction, and our goal is to improve your riding.